Welcome to the Brian Wright audio experience, a podcast dedicated to helping entrepreneurs grow their business, make more money, and successfully navigate through the chaos of life, all while working, spending, and stressing less. And now your host. He's a husband, a father of two, an international business and life coach, and a trusted motivational speaker for some of the most respected companies in the world, such as Invisalign and many others. Brian Wright.
Hey everybody, welcome inside the broadcast booth. Brian Wright here. If you're over on the YouTube station watching, hey there, appreciate it. Say hello to my little buddy that sits in the chair behind me. That's Winston. That's my golden doodle, and he has learned to open up the doors to my podcast studio, the video production room. So he just kind of comes and goes, shutting the doors. It almost isn't even worth it. Makes it worse. He's kind of a daddy's boy. But welcome in, everybody. My name is Brian Wright. This is episode 1 of season 1. Looking so much just forward to getting to know all of you, having you all join the podcast. So many really awesome things. I've had a podcast for many years over in healthcare, teaching business owners that are doctors like dentists, orthodontists, plastic surgeons that own their own practice. It's very business, marketing, life-oriented, just like this podcast is going to be. This podcast is dedicated to all entrepreneurs out there and your family. We have it extremely difficult in this country. Every single law is pretty much against the entrepreneur these days. Whether you're a small business or a large one, it is very difficult to function in this new economy, I call it. It's a very different type of consumer. In order to get people to buy from your business, you just have to do things differently. And I've had so many of you out there where I'm your business and life coach. We work personally with your businesses out there, asked me to start a podcast, and we did it. And so excited to be here behind the mic, bringing you what we know works so good, and bringing that to you, your family, your business, your employees. And we're going to have an awesome venture together, an awesome journey together here on the Brian Wright Show podcast. And today what I want to do is two things. One, I want to introduce myself. For a lot of people out there, you know me already, whether it be you've seen me on stage, you've come to one of our master classes, or I work with you privately where I come in as a consultant and your business coach, and we really get to work on a lot of the things that we're going to teach on this podcast. But a lot of you out there don't know me. This could be the first podcast you've come across. Maybe you're just doing a YouTube search, or you're doing on one of the major podcast channels, or maybe you did see me speak and now you're coming back and you want to get to know, like, trust me a little bit more. What I'm going to do today is introduce myself. I'm going to kind of talk to you about my entrepreneur journey. For those of you who know me out there, you know I don't like to do that. I'm not a big, hey, this is me, right? This is all about me. It's one of the reasons why whenever you're on stage, you have other people introduce you, because if you come up there and say all the edification about yourself, you know, you just sound, you sound kind of like a jackass. It's nicer when other people do it for you, right? And there's a lot of psychology behind that as well, actually, that we're going to teach you, and that we do teach our customers out there. From when you pass customers from employee to employee, or employee to a leadership team, whatever it may be, as you pass customers around, a trust transfer, communication transfer is so critical. And it's critical because it's hard to sit there and edify yourself and brag about yourself. But I do find it important to kind of dive into my entrepreneurial journey, just the chaos behind it and how it's all panned out, the successes that I've had, learning from the failures, the perseverance, and how it's kind of all come now to where I'm one of the lead business consultants for a $3 billion publicly traded company with Invisalign. AlignTechnology is the public stock. If you ever come across that, they are the makers of Invisalign. And there's a lot of other companies that trust me as a speaker inside healthcare, outside of healthcare. And I just want to talk to you about that because it's been surreal. And I feel so blessed to be able to sit back here, have an audience to talk to. So many of you requested me do a podcast like this. Whether you know me personally, you've just seen me speak on stage, I have been told that to sit behind this mic and start a new podcast, and I'm so excited to be doing it. You know, I've had a podcast for 5 seasons now. Next, as I do this today, it'll be 6 seasons starting in January, or we'll be in our 6th season. I think there's about 85 episodes over there. And really, you know, it is to doctors that own their own business. But really, if you hear what I'm talking about, it could be for any business owner. It could be for any corporation. But really, the more the small business owner, And that's what we're devoted to here. Your family, your employees, your customers. Because everything we teach on here and everything we teach, the winner is the customer. And man, oh man, when your customer is always winning, you dominate. And that is a mindset shift for a lot of people, to say the least, is get your face out of the quote unquote numbers you see on paper and shift your mindset to, how does my customer win? And there's so many podcasts we're going to be talking about that, because unfortunately, in this economy, a lot of customers aren't winning, and they're not winning because of viewing numbers wrong, viewing how to grow wrong. There's so many different things that I cannot wait to teach you with this podcast. And we talk all over the world, where stop having your mindset be outside your doors. So many people as business owners, I tell you, this is one of the biggest lessons I learned. And you all can learn it too, whether it's from me or somebody else, is that there is a very specific recipe that the famous companies all do, whether it be the Shark Tank investors or whether it be a famous company like a Ritz-Carlton, a Walt Disney. If you look at the foundation of what builds their company, nobody sat down and said, well, I'm going to become famous with the company I'm starting. It's not how it's thought out. There's a recipe for having your company be famous, and whether that be famous, on a global scale like a Walt Disney or a Ritz-Carlton, or just famous in your community, just creating a unbelievable, exceptional brand if you have a business that just sells in your area, or maybe your area and maybe you also sell things online that other people can buy. You've got to ship it to them. The recipe becoming a true exceptional brand goes so far above and beyond your product. And there's going to be plenty of podcasts about this, but one of the podcasts we'll be doing is, are you obsessing over your customer or your product? And most people, when you kind of go through the exercise that I'm going to take you through on that particular podcast, most people are obsessed over their product. And in this economy, for so many reasons, it's just not the recipe to win. So today, really two things I want to dive into, like I said. I want to talk to you about my journey, but I also want to talk to you about why this podcast exists, why I exist, from how I help businesses whenever I'm hired personally to go in as their consultant and install all these consumer touch points that lead to increase in sales, increase in revenue, increase in profit, because your conversion goes up, your referrals go up. And as those two things go up, the goal should always be, as a business owner, is how do I reduce or even eliminate the need for outside advertising? That should always be your mindset. It shouldn't be, what is the next advertising thing I can do to get the phone to ring? If you have to do that, what that is telling you is that you have all kinds of leaky holes inside your doors. One of the things I've learned, I have a company called New Patient Group over in the healthcare space, and that my other podcast is the New Patient Group podcast. And that podcast, again, is dedicated, like I said, to doctor business owners that own their own practice. They're up against corporations that have bigger budgets, things like that, which a lot of you are out there as well. You could be a family-owned restaurant. You could be a family-owned plumber, family-owned legal firm. The list goes, and the list is really endless. Those are three quick examples. And you may be up against corporations that have bigger budgets, et cetera, and you cannot compete with them on an outside your doors advertising scheme. Right? You can't, not scheme, but just their marketing plan, their budgets behind it. They're always going to be able to spend more than you. And that is not how you win anyway, but it's certainly not how you compete against people that have deeper pockets. How you compete is making everything inside your quote-unquote doors exceptional compared to any other business that consumer has ever dealt with in their entire life, from how you do your online marketing, to how that receptionist speaks on the phone, to what happens after that receptionist hangs up the phone with that consumer and the time they actually show up to your door, have their first sales call with you, to how that call, that first interaction goes when they walk through your door, or they get on a Zoom meeting. All of these consumer touch points, that is how you win. And people, it's very hard to get them to think that way, but that is, like I said, that is why we exist, is that I take the recipes of the famous companies and we install them into your particular business. And there is time and time again a proven recipe to reduce or eliminate advertising while kicking butt every year, regardless of economy. But it does take work. You have to realize as an entrepreneur that you need to focus on the right things. and you need to dominate in the right areas. And so many businesses out there, there's three things where they suffer greatly. And these three things, unfortunately, they all take coming outside your comfort zone. They all take work. But the beauty, if you push through the pain and you get through that work, is that it becomes easy, man. It becomes easy. But not a lot of people are willing to push through that initial phase of work, of change, of revamping things. And if you look at the recipe of these famous companies, the three I gave you an example ago, but it's a lot more, is that their culture is better than anyone else in their industry, right? It's always better. They attract higher level of talent because of it. They pay their higher level talent better than the other people in the industry. They keep their people happy. They have an employee experience first mentality. Second, they train their people on unique skill sets that when they're interacting with the consumer, whether it be on the phones, whether it be in person, whether it be a new person that you're trying to get to buy from you, whether it be a person that's already bought from you, and now they're in more of your existing customer experience as opposed to your new experience to try to get them to buy in the first place. Whatever it may be, they train them in a way to make sure that that interaction goes exceptionally well and exceeds expectations. And because they work so hard on culture and employee experience, when they're not looking, the employees implement it, and they implement that training willingly. They want to make the leadership team proud of them. So if you take the business mindset, which incorporates the leadership and culture of your organization, how you look at numbers, how you make sure that the employee experience comes before anything else, how you train uniquely your employees on sales, psychology. And when you hear me say psychology, what I mean by that, and we're going to have a ton of podcasts about what I'm about to talk about right now, what I mean by that is knowing what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. There are so many psychological terms that if you don't know, you may say some things and you may not think anything of it, but it absolutely is costing your business money. Trigger words as an example. Halo effect, domino effect, the psychology of the yes funnel. Those are 3, 4, 5 quick examples of hundreds that we teach inside businesses that I can't wait for you all to hear, because they make such a huge impact, regardless of the type business you own. I would say if you're a business, and this is especially true if you're a commoditized business, meaning that if I call you and you miss the call, as an example, I'm going right down Google to the next one. And that encompasses so many people. You could be a tech firm and your average customer could be $250,000. Well, guess what? If people reach out to you and you don't answer that call, or that call doesn't go well, or that initial sales call doesn't go well, and I'm going somewhere else because I have options. If you're a restaurant, same way. If you're a doctor, a dentist, there's thousands of you. If you're a plumber and someone calls you and you don't answer, they're going right down the list. If you're a lawyer, you don't answer, they're going right down the list. And there's thousands of examples. And if you're like that, we are going to really help your business grow in this podcast. There is so many things that we're going to teach on how to get people to spend more with your business to where you can be a higher cost than your competition. Air quotes again. I say air quotes a lot when I say the word competition because inevitably, and there'll be plenty of podcasts about this, inevitably, the only competition you have is you and your team. Apple is famous for this. And they talk about how in any of their events, they, under no circumstance, do they allow you to talk to their employees about Microsoft or anybody else. They don't view Microsoft or anybody else as their competition. They view themselves as the competition. And we're going to talk more about that because obviously, if you're a plumber out there or a lawyer, and you've got another plumber or lawyer down the street, yes. Are they another option for somebody? Would that actually constitute competition? Yes, of course. But the point is if you take care of you and you take care of the employees, you will kick the other people's butt and at a higher cost. And back to those three things. We're talking about leadership and culture, the whole business mindset pillar, if you will. The second one is the uniquely trained team, the commitment to ongoing repetitive training of your people, regardless of the type business you have. Because the best product doesn't win. If you're a doctor that owns their own business, consumers don't know if you're a better clinician than the other option on Google or the 20 other options on Google. It's not the best doctor that wins. It's the best team that sells the doctor the best that wins. If you're a plumber out there, it's not the best plumbing skills. It's the best sales process. It's the best marketing. Same way with a lawyer. A lot of times, the best lawyer doesn't win. It's the best business, the best marketing, etc., the best culture, the best trained team. It's your team that is selling you. So you could have the worst product in town, but if your team edifies it, knows how to uniquely sell it, and your experience is better, somebody is going to buy somebody else's inferior product to your better product if they have a better experience, a better sales cycle, etc., etc. So that commitment to training is really the second pillar. It's such a leaky hole. The number one return on investment of anything you will ever do in your career is train your people on unique skill sets that other people just will never commit to. Is it hard? Sure, but there's ways to automate it. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about exactly what those unique skill sets are on here. Very passionate about these two things I just talked about. And then the third is how you do your online marketing. Look, so many of you out there are wasting so much money as Google sucks your bank account dry on pay-per-click and all this ad spend and billboards and radio and advertising, etc. Meanwhile, if you look at your consumer experience funnel from when they hit your website to when they decide to pick up the phone and call you to all these touch points, they're not unique to anybody. So the biggest marketing flaw, there's going to be a podcast about this, the biggest marketing flaw almost all of you have out there is that you have a receptionist that sucks or a mini receptionist that suck. And I'm so passionate about that topic right there. I created a whole company, Wright from it. And it's why it has become basically famous because it's made every single answering service out there, regardless of your industry, obsolete. Because nobody, if you're a lawyer, do you really think if I need a lawyer and I hit Google and 5 of you pull up and I call your place and you don't answer, do you really think I'm going to leave a message? There's no way the new consumer is going to leave a message. Imagine you're shopping for an orthodontist or a dentist out there, they don't answer. You're going right to the next one. If you're a vet, and I have tons of stories, I'm going to talk about this. My dog right behind me, Winston, he got hit in the face with a baseball bat by my kid, Braden. This was quite a while ago. It was a bad situation. Winston snuck up behind him. Braden had no idea he was there. Took a swing, crushed him right in the face. The dog was screaming, crying. It was really sad. He's fine now. It was a bad situation. What do? We pick up, call vet number 1. They don't answer. Call vet number 2. They don't answer. Call vet number 3. They answered. They won. They got the business, and they were good inside their doors, so we still to this day refer them more. But the first 2 vets, those are the leaky holes I'm talking about. From a business mindset standpoint, a culture, a leadership, how you view numbers. These things are happening to all of you out there. You're losing your butt. And that is why Wright Chat exists, is we answer those remote in to your software, whatever your scheduling system is, with your existing phone number, speak as your employee, and schedule those missed opportunities. I mean, for tech firms, we make tech firms millions every year that otherwise would have gone somewhere else. We make healthcare practices millions. We make people hundreds of thousands of dollars every year, and people that would have called and bought somewhere else. But it's also when you do get a hold. If I call your practice on a phone call after maybe I clicked on one of your ads out there and then I call. What are you doing to make sure your receptionist has the sales and hospitality skill sets to blow that caller away? And most likely the answer is nothing or very little. Or you have a script next to the phone thinking that that's training. Or you've taught them to be nice, which is one piece of a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. And this is the flaw so many of you have in the marketing, is marketing gets your phones to ring. That's it. Marketing does not create your brand awareness. Your brand awareness is created from how good you are inside your doors, from your product or your service to how you treat people to your culture. Those are the things that create a brand, right? Advertising, just all it does is get people to call you. It's where it stops. It doesn't even get you a new customer. Your receptionist gets you a new customer. But how you do your online marketing, such as YouTube just overtook Google as the largest search engine in the world. So look at your YouTube station. If you're a restaurant, your head chef should be all over it. Right? That's one example. If you're a plumber, you should be all over it. Lawyer, you should be all over it. Why? Someone's got to tell the public why you're better. Love working with restaurants because our restaurant experience that we install is just ridiculous. And it's so fun because I'm a foodie, been through some cooking schools online. I just love it. It is I just love it. Long story short, I just love seeing how it goes from A to Z. I love spending all day in the kitchen and just the attention to detail and all this great stuff. But then we like to broadcast it, right? If you're a restaurant and your attention to detail is great and your kitchen is impeccable and your cooking techniques are wonderful, you can't just expect the consumer. Most people know little to nothing about food or the process. They know how it tastes. That's where it stops. Well, you've got to educate the consumer on why you're better. You're a commodity just like anybody else. You think people are shopping around and they don't shop for your restaurant? Of course, they're going to shop for you. They're going to look at your online presence. They're going to compare your reviews against other people. They're going to look at how your menu is. And by the way, you could have a worse menu but displayed better and still win. It's all about how you showcase yourself. Well, the point being here is that, and one of the things you'll learn on here, and I love teaching this, is your online marketing, regardless, you could be any type of business out there, tech firm, restaurant, us, a consultant, business coach, whatever you want to call us. You could be the best on the planet, but inevitably nobody knows it. It's all about how you plate your food. When people think about this, if you're shopping online for any type of business and you come across a steak, we'll call it you're shopping for a restaurant right now. You come across a steak, it's charred, it looks like crap, it's on a plain white plate, nothing else. Then you come across a steakhouse that's got this beautiful steak, medium rare, over just a bed of mashed potatoes or maybe some beautiful garlic parm risotto, some crispy asparagus laid over it, a nice sauce on top. It just looks gorgeous. Glass of red wine next to it. Which one of those restaurants, if you're looking for a steakhouse, are you going to pick up the phone and call first? And obviously, it's the second one. Now, it doesn't mean the second one's food is better. You may bite it and surprise, the first one I described is better. Right? But the point is that however you plate your food as a business out there online, that's how you get calls over your competition. Your website's got to be impeccable. It's got to have video gifts. It's got to really, really stand out. A perfect example of a website I'm talking about is the Cirrus Aircraft Company. So a lot of you know this. If this is the first time you're meeting me, I'm a pilot. I love to fly planes. I'm a pilot. We have a Cirrus aircraft as it stands today as we do this podcast. Now, there's going to be other podcasts about this, but this proves why experience wins. Cirrus Aircraft Corporation has taken off for entrepreneurs, and if you go to their website, you'll see why. They're not even a better airplane than a lot of the other options out there, but they're a better experience from their website. Just go look at it. The video gifts playing on there. It's just the emotional buy-in. And that's exactly what you have to create as a business owner out there. You have to start to create the emotional buy-in when people shop for you. I don't care what industry you're in. You've got to take pride in looking badass. You can't just throw up a website. You can't just say you have Facebook. You've got to make it look like everything is plated more beautiful than the other places that can pop up whenever I'm searching for a business. And when you combine what I'm talking about together, when you combine a unique business mindset that views leadership and culture as an integral number one part of bringing everything else on the planet together, if you have a forward-thinking business mindset that realizes that employee experience is the new customer experience. And I'm going to repeat what I just said again, because you're going to learn a lot more about this throughout this podcast journey. Customer experience only wins when you treat your employees at a VIP level. Employee experience is the new customer experience in this economy. Very unique compared to how it used to be. And the reason that's so important, like we talked about, is that customer experience wins. According to Harris Interactive, this is the latest study, almost 90% of people choose to remain with a business or buy to begin with because of the quality of the experience over whether or not their products or services are any good. This is exactly what I'm teaching. You have to be enamored in your employees and your customer, not your product. Now, does that mean you shouldn't want to make your product great? Of course not. Of course you should make it great. But the point is that you will have more success with a crappy product and an exceptional team that knows how to sell, an exceptional experience that wows every consumer touch point along your journey. You will win at a higher level that way than you will win at a great product, a great service, but you suck at all the rest of the stuff. Or maybe you don't suck, but maybe even you're nice. But there's nothing exceptional. There's nothing that exceeds expectations. And this is one of the biggest reasons the businesses that I work with personally, the people that come to our master classes, why I'm invited to speak on stage, the reason is because this is what we teach. We teach you how to do your online marketing different than everybody. We teach you and we train your employees on how to be different than everybody else, to make your product, to make your experience, everything stand out. And then we help you build a culture that will absolutely tie all of this together, how to learn and look at numbers differently. And that is what this podcast is going to be so much about, because here's the thing. Owning a business, like I said, is so hard. Everything is against us as business owners. HR laws. I mean, we're at a point, especially states like California, where you could have an employee walk through the door, blow up the place, leave, you fire them because they did that, and you're still going to get screwed. You're still going to have to pay unemployment. You're probably still going to lose a lawsuit. The rules are ridiculous. If an employee sucks, you can't fire them because you get penalized. The employee could be late every day, lazy. Like I said, they could walk in, shoot up the place, and you're still going to lose. Taxes. Every time there's a tax increase, guess who loses? The small business owner. That's who loses. And no one ever talks about the 10 years you put in making nothing in order to now maybe you make a ton of money. Nobody ever talks about the sacrifice and the dedication and the perseverance and all the things you went through and the risk you took. No one ever talks about that in this country anymore. It's always, oh, you're loaded now, you're greedy, blah, blah, blah. It's so hard to be an entrepreneur successfully in this country. But in this podcast, I'm going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to teach you how to do it. I'm going to coach you how to do it. And I hope to get to work with your organization because we can do great things together. I hope your organization uses Wright Chat. And what you'll find in this podcast is almost to a fault. I don't sales pitch stuff, right? It's all about value and giving you as much stuff that you can go back that will transform your business, transform your career, transform your employees, your culture, your training, your online marketing. Because I want to have an impact on as many lives while I'm on this planet as possible. That's what the true joy is being able to have your company have some success because of what we teach. Because I know as an entrepreneur, the happier you are with your business, the more progress you see with your business, the more progress you see with your employees, the more progress you see selling your product, your service, the more referrals you get, the better your life, the better your marriage, the better you are with your kids, just the overall happier well-being you have. And that inevitably, the two things are so tied together. If you're pissed at your wife, as an example, it's really hard to go into work and just be happy and the leader that you're supposed to be and great with your employees listening to this too. We've had, and I want to shout out again, the amount of people that, whether it be in an airport, stop me, or at a event and talk to me after we got off stage, customers out there, the amount of people that asked me to start a podcast was overwhelming. It's emotional, actually, because again, what I do, I'm so passionate about it because it works. It's time tested. It works every time. It's just so difficult to get people to shift their mindset from what they want to what they actually need. And as business owners, that is a lesson in itself, is doing what you need to do, not necessarily what you want to do. And the two are very different most oftentimes. But the amount of employees that wanted us to start a podcast is amazing to me. It's so cool. It means the world because, we teach business owners, hold people accountable, be a leader, don't be a pushover. But this message resonates with the employees because the employees appreciate it. The employees hate when businesses hire a consultant, the consultant comes in and then nothing happens. The good employees hate that. It's just a waste of everybody's time. Well, employees, this is the same thing. If Judy, your employee, shows up and she's having boyfriend or husband problems, or a kid's always in trouble at school, she's having financial difficulties, that's hard for her to show up and be exceptional at work. And if you're this person that says, well, I'll leave it at the door, you are so 1990. You can't be that way anymore. Just like the consumers change from a buying perspective, the consumers also change from a how they work for you perspective. The reality is you're a father or a mother to every single one of your kids, right? You're also a father or a mother to every single one of your employees, because what makes a great parent is exactly what makes a great leader. You got to hold people accountable. There has to be consequences. And if you do it right, this whole millennial, Gen Z, they're all great. Well, no generation is all great, but you know what I mean? They take a really bad rap because they're fabulous employees. We have with Wright Chat, we're packed with them, right? Love them all. With New Patient Group, we're packed with them. With the Brian Wright Show, we're packed with them, because I have a whole team, just because I go in as my own name and consult with businesses, speak on stage. We have a whole team behind the scenes that makes it all work. Without them, we're nothing. Gen Z and Millennial, love them. They're not bad employees. They're not bad consumers from a customer standpoint either, but you have to shift and know how to communicate differently. And today's not about that, but I think it all ties together. It's just like coaches in sports. If you're a sport person, I do a lot of sports analogies because there's so many analogies that work with sports that also work with business. What makes an athlete great makes an employee great. What makes a culture and an organization, what makes a dynasty in sports is the same way you make a dynasty in business. Exact same way. And what I'm getting at with this sports thing is that's what makes an exceptional coach. All coaches know the game. It's not like coaches that maybe you like a sports team and you couldn't stand the coach. You're always like, this guy's an idiot. Well, I hate to tell you, the guy or girl knows more about that sport than you do. The reason and the difference between exceptional coaches and not so is how they communicate, how they know how to have the tough conversation, how they shift their personality from one player to the next based on that person and that player's personality. It's not easy to do, but that is a huge thing. If you asked 100 athletes, your favorite coach in professional sports, why? This is what we're going to tell you, is communication. And it's no different as a leader in the business. None. Employees want communication. They want to hear from you. They want the truth, no matter how small your company, no matter how big. Look them in the eye, spend time with them, tell them how it is. But you have to tell them how it is in a different, unique way based on their personality. And we're going to teach you that on this podcast because that's what we do with our customers. You can't just have a blatant one-way conversation. It doesn't work anymore. And you may be sitting there going, Brian, I hate social media. Don't want to put my face on YouTube. These millennials are just driving me crazy. I'm not doing that great. Or maybe you are doing that great, but change is hard. And all that's right. You're right. Change is hard. But the reality is you can complain about it. You can do something about it. And I always just say, hey, let's do something about it. Many years ago, when I always knew that I was going to be an entrepreneur. I was just, I wasn't a great student. And it wasn't that, it was really that I would constantly challenge the status quo. And I still do to this day, which is, that's the the main probably trait of an entrepreneur is you're constantly challenging the status quo. Constantly looking at things going, let's do it better. Constantly identifying problems and let's find solutions. Let's create companies to find problems or find solutions to those problems. Well, as an entrepreneur, I learned very quickly that there's two kind of problems that exist as far as lost opportunities go for all of us out there. It's the ones we know about. Let's say at the end of the month, you print off your data sheet. and you're looking at your numbers, your revenue, your profit, how much you brought in, maybe how much you collected that single month, your total new customers or new patients if you're a healthcare practice, customers, clients, whatever. And you're going through the data sheet and you're pointing all this out. And those are numbers we know, and they're lost opportunities we know. If you wanted to hit $300,000 this month in revenue and you hit 240, well, that's a $60,000 loss, right? You can put your finger on that. But those aren't the numbers that hurt us as businesses. And that is why you have to look behind. Maybe you're an MBA. You've got to look beyond what the professor taught you in school. And you've got to look beyond just analyzing the data sheet. It's just the reality of the situation, because none of those numbers tell us why. Why was the number 240 instead of 300? Why were our new sales at 30 this month instead of 50? Or maybe you're a larger organization. You had 3,000 sales. And maybe you're even happy about it. But in my mind, I immediately go, okay, why wasn't it 4,000 or 3,300 as an example? And that's where your mind always has to be as an entrepreneur. And that's why the numbers that really kill us as business owners out there, and this was easily, without doubt, top 3 things that took me from not a struggling entrepreneur. Like, I had a very successful company before I was even out of college. Almost you could argue I was too young to have that kind of success out of college. But I've also had companies that they didn't do well. And the ones that didn't do well, so many good things came from that. Perseverance, being smarter with money, looking at things that didn't go well, tweaking them for other companies. And it's like an athlete again. Like, as you fail, you have to learn from the failure and realize, okay, if I practice and get better at these weaknesses, as I start to have a success, I'm going to have even more success as my weaknesses continually improve. And that's the same thing as a business owner. And it is one of the most important pieces to the foundation of an innovative, a forward-thinking business mindset that is able to create the right culture and leadership, is realize what is hurting you the most is what you can't put your finger on. I mean, we have data with my company, Wright, that an average business that is around only like 10 to, think about this, only about 10 to 20 sales a month. That is a small company in the scheme of things. Now, your average ticket price may be $500,000 a customer. So you're maybe small in a different way, right? You may have a very large ticket price. But regardless of industry, right? 10 to 20 sales a month, you could charge $500,000 a customer or $1. They're missing 5 or more phone calls a month. Think about this. 5 or more a month. Just if you're a business, 10 to 20 sales a month. We are answering 5 of their missed sales calls every month. If you're a doctor, that would be a new patient call. You're a dentist or an orthodontist. Well, they're certainly not coming back to you. If you're a tech firm, if you're a lawyer, if you're a plumber, etc. This is the type thing that I want all of you to shift your mindset, is how much am I losing every month that I can't put my finger on? Because that is a recipe of the Shark Tank entrepreneurs and every other famous entrepreneur that you can think of are masters at fixing the unknown. Period. End of story. And we're going to dive into countless podcasts, countless courses. Customers out there, you already know this, of shifting the mindset to looking at cost versus investment differently, overhead differently, lost opportunity costs differently, how one sale that you lose is actually 2. Because if you lose one, you should be getting a referral, at least one, if you have things set up right, from every customer you have. So if you miss one, that's actually 2. All of these things we're going to go into, and it's what I learned early on that has made my career really blossom. And I'm so blessed to be able to sit back here and have a podcast now with this. We've got, like I said, the New Patient Group podcast. I also have a podcast that's Wright by Cooper. That is I'm a business coach of an orthodontist. She's in Houston, Texas. She and I do a podcast together. And then now, for all of you entrepreneurs out there, your employees and your families, so excited. But, there's been struggles, and as entrepreneurs, we can be hard-headed. There's no doubt about it. Like a lot of times, if we weren't hard-headed, we'd be working for somebody else. But we all feel like we've got the answers to a lot of things, well, whether we do or not. But all these things, I'm a father, and a little bit about myself, and we'll close it out, and just kind of where I am in my entrepreneur journey, and honestly, why you should even care to listen, right? And I want to wrap it up on that. And I think this would be a really good first episode, and obviously a lot more to come. So I'm a husband. Kristen is my wife. We live in League City. That's the south side of Houston as it stands today when I do this podcast. We have 2 kids, Braden, he's 7, and Madeline, she's 5. And man, they're great. I'm very lucky to have a supportive wife, kids they're fantastic. Our family, my wife is just beautiful. Our kids are gorgeous. It's just great. I feel very blessed. And, I can be a nuisance at times because of how many things I have going on, multiple companies. I care, and you will notice this on this podcast, but when I am hired personally to work with a business, or a doctor hires our company new patient group, or Wright Chat is hired, we have a culture where we passionately care deeply about our customer and our customer's successes. And I have said often, if you actually care, it's actually harder work because you can't shut it off. But I will contribute more than anything, my success. And I'm telling you all this because this is a lesson in itself. You have to obsess over your customers. If you do, your team will join you like you cannot believe. Obsess over your customers. And the culture that you will create is unbelievable. Stop obsessing over numbers. Stop bonusing on numbers. My God. And there's going to be podcasts all around that as well, is redefining bonuses for the new economy, the new consumer, the new employee, if you will. You can't bonus on numbers. I mean, that can be part of it. But when you bonus on numbers, your customer doesn't win from that. And that, again, is where your mindset is always got to be, is how does my customer win? That's where your mindset's got to be. So how can you bonus in a way where your customer wins? A lot of really cool things coming on that. But as you go through your entrepreneur journey, like I have, there's bumps, there's chaos. And a lot of times the family, and why I brought the family up first, is they're obviously my first priority. But as these bumps and this chaos happens, it's easy to shift your mindset away from being a great husband, a great father, because you have another baby and another family member. It's your business. And you don't do it intentionally. But a big part of what I learned early on that we're going to teach is how you automate a lot of the stuff that keeps you busy. There's a different way, everybody. We're going to work on so many different things in this podcast, and it goes back to the business mindset. How can you automate a lot of your training? How can you automate just a lot of the things that create the daily stress, the chaos? And the more the more businesses you have, and the larger your businesses, and the more team members, the more important those things actually become. But they become more important for different reasons. Not that they're not important for a smaller business. They're just more important for different reasons. The bigger you get, the more locations you have, the more people you have to deal with, employees and customers. Relationships is something that not a lot of people think of when they think of marketing. And when it comes to me, relationships, whether it be with the customer, whether it be with the employee, whether it be with a vendor, whether it be with an event coordinator, whatever it be, relationships are everything, everybody. I don't care what type of business you have. If you want to thrive regardless of economy, you want to grow referrals, you want to get a great reputation, it's all about relationships. And relationships is the number one thing that I contribute my overall success to, that has gotten me right up the ladder. I mean, think about this. I started my business coaching, employee training, and online marketing company, New Patient Group, over in healthcare 10 years ago, as it stands today when I do this podcast. I had never been in dentistry or orthodontics, and I did it because of the 3 things that we're going to be teaching all of you. It works. and it works better than anything else that you'll ever do as far as how you run your business. Well, about 5 years into that, I was signed as a speaker and a consultant for a $3 billion publicly traded company, Invisalign. AlignTechnology is the makers of Invisalign. That's the publicly traded entity. And a lot of people are like, oh, how'd you pull that off? Well, I pulled it off through relationships and shooting content, our online marketing. My voice was heard. When I did get a chance to go on stage, I was good. And the audience wanted me back. And now I'm very much trusted to so many different things they do as far as how they run their business, how they set things up. And a lot of the things that I work on with them, I'm going to be working on with all of you out there. And it's relationships, man. People need to know you. They need to like you. They need to trust you. You're going to learn that on this podcast. And today's going to be a lot longer. It has been a lot longer than most of these podcasts will. And the format of it, we'll see. I don't know exactly when these are going to come out yet, if there's going to be a routine. I don't know yet. My new patient group podcast, right around the first business day of every month, we launch a new podcast. But that one's more of an audio experience. It's a radio show, which this one is most likely. We will have guests, but today it's more of like you're sitting down to your AM radio show, your contemporary radio show, if you will, and we just go. And I have found audience members really like that over with the new patient group podcast, even better than having guests. But the one thing that my companies have all had in common, whether it be Wright Chat, new patient group, other ones as well, my Brian Wright show, me as a consultant, the ones that have succeeded spent the least amount on advertising. I'm going to repeat that. The ones that have succeeded, because this is so different than a lot of you would think. The ones that have succeeded the most, we spent the least amount on advertising. What we did is we invested in a better culture. We invested in training our people on unbelievable skill sets to just be so damn good if every interaction they have with people. We do our online marketing in a way that nobody in our industry can touch. That's what's made us a success. I mean, new patient group, we have the biggest names in orthodontics, where I'm their business coach. We do marketing for them. We train their team without advertising. Same way with the Brian Wright show. We have some of the most famous entrepreneurs in existence that listen to the podcast, that wanted me to start this podcast, that trust me as the business coach, such as Invisalign. And many other companies as well in healthcare that they just don't advertise to the consumer, so you wouldn't know their name unless you're in healthcare. It's relationships, it's content, it's culture, it's training, it's marketing, but inevitably, it's passionately caring about your customer. It's passionately caring about your employees and their well-being. Can't wait for this podcast journey together. Can't wait to work with your business privately. Reach out to us if you're interested. Write Chat as well. Can't wait. This is going to be a beautiful journey. For those of you out there that have seen me speak or are customers, special welcome to you. You know what I'm talking about on this podcast today. You know how passionate I am about it and how we're going to bring this to the masses out there. I can't wait. A new era has arrived, everybody, for this new economy. Welcome to the Brian Wright Show. Look forward to working with you. Look forward to you listening to this podcast. If you do me a favor, hit Google, hit Apple, whatever it is, write us a 5-star review for this podcast. Share it with your friends, your family. Look forward to this journey, everybody. If you're watching on our YouTube station, again, thanks so much. Hi there. Reach out with anything you ever need. Look forward to episode 2. Talk to everybody soon. Bye-bye.